Berlin, February 14th, 2020. I received an email from the Department of Reconstruction. It said that in the basement of the old Ministry of Communications building, an unauthorized server room had been found. They asked me to inspect the equipment and the network, a routine task, but the words unauthorized zone made me cautious. I arrived in the morning around 9. Light rain was falling, the sky was grey. A guard stood by the door and pointed me to the stairs. The basement was dry and strangely clean. No dust, no smell of dampness, lights glowing cold white as if someone had just checked them. The corridor led to a heavy metal door with no handle. It was slightly open. Behind it I saw a room like a small lab. 3 server racks, smooth walls, grey tiled floor. Everything was running, though the building had no active power grid. I moved closer. On one of the monitors there was a message. Transmission active, do not watch. Old system font, plain and sterile. I connected my laptop and the link came alive instantly. The server name was Window Core 01. Data was moving with no internet connection, but the stream was active. I opened the feed and saw a video of the same room, the same space I was standing in. But on the table there was a cup of coffee, a cup I had not yet placed there. I shut down the power. Silence filled the room. The air felt heavier, like it was aware of me. I wrote a short report saying, source of signal not identified, but deep down I knew it was not a normal system error. Later I found a log from the year 2003 with the same device ID. That hardware did not exist back then. When I tried to close the report, the signature field filled itself. It said, observation confirmed, channel stable. The light flickered as if someone walked behind me. I turned around and saw nothing, only the screen showing a new date, February 15th, 2020, while my watch still showed February 14th, 1926. The next day I came back at 8:30 in the morning. My access was approved with a temporary pass. Fog covered the street and cars moved slowly. The building looked ordinary, but inside everything felt too new, like old walls pretending to be modern. I went down to the basement and noticed the server room was running again, even though power had been shut down yesterday. Lights were steady, fans humming softly. Temperature fixed at 22 degrees. On the monitor appeared a new line. Transmission active window 2. I connected and saw a corridor, not the one I was in. The camera showed another section of the building, one that did not exist in any blueprint. On the wall there was an old clock. It showed the date, April 26th, 2020. I decided to log everything carefully. After a few minutes, numbers began to appear. They looked like coordinates. When I entered them on the map, the point was outside Berlin, an abandoned radio tower in the northeast. I checked the system log. The signal was coming from that place. Through a closed internal channel, I called the tech department. They said no such connection exists, and that the server name Window Core is not listed anywhere. They told me to close the report and not to publish anything, but I saved a copy of the stream on a flash drive. The file was named Window Frame 2. When I opened it at home, the screen glowed with a pale green light. Inside was a video, only 30 seconds long. It showed me standing by the same desk, but in the reflection of the monitor, there was someone else standing behind the glass. I turned off the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. 3 days later, I drove out of the city. The coordinates led me through an empty highway, surrounded by forests and fog. It was early morning, the sun barely touching the horizon. The closer I got, the weaker my phone signal became, until it vanished completely. At 9:47, I reached the place. An old radio tower stood in the middle of a fenced field. The fence was broken, covered in rust and moss. There was no sound, not even birds, only a steady mechanical hum somewhere beneath the ground. I entered through a side opening in the concrete wall. Inside was a stairway leading down. Each step echoed like I was walking into something hollow and endless. At the bottom there was a single metal door with a small glass window. Through it I saw a faint green light, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The room was empty except for one terminal on a steel table. Its monitor flickered with the same message: "Transmission active, window 3. I connected my portable scanner and saw that the signal was identical to the one from Berlin. Same checksum, same origin timecode, but there was one difference. The data header contained a timestamp, set 2 days in the future. When I opened the stream, it showed the tower itself. The same view from above, but in the frame there was a car parked outside. My car. The image trembled for a moment, then a white flash covered the screen and a new line appeared. Observer confirmed. Channel aligned. The hum around me grew louder. I turned off the power, but the noise did not stop. It felt like it was now inside my head. When I climbed back to the surface, the air was colder. Fog had thickened and I could barely see the road. The tower stood silent again, but I kept hearing that low vibration. Even after I started the engine, it followed me for the entire drive back to Berlin, like an invisible frequency that refused to fade. That night, I could not sleep. The lights in my apartment flickered once every few minutes, and when I checked the flash drive, the file Window Frame 2 was gone. In its place was a new one, Window Frame 3, created at 9:47 the next morning, on February 23rd. I was called to the Federal Data Security Office. They had received my initial report from Berlin, even though I never sent it. The envelope had my digital signature and the date, February 25th, 2 days ahead of the current time. They asked me to explain the findings. I said as little as possible. Later that day, I was told to assist a joint technical review of the old ministry building. When I returned there, the main power was disconnected. The entire basement had been sealed with a new security lock. Inside, everything looked untouched, yet cleaner than before. All 3 servers were still running on backup power. Their LEDs blinked in perfect rhythm, like a synchronized pulse. The main screen showed a new identifier: Mirror Protocol initiated. I connected my laptop and checked the transmission logs. Each stream from window core 1, 2 and 3 had merged into a single channel. The source address matched my home network. At first I thought it was a mistake, but then I noticed the timestamp. It was not in local time. It was synchronized with the internal atomic clock of the ministry's old communication hub, a system that was decommissioned 15 years ago. I opened the feed. The image was my apartment, seen from the corner of the room. The same table, the same cup of coffee. But the reflection in the monitor showed me sitting there wearing the same clothes, while in reality I was standing in the server room. The image began to lag, as if it was buffering, each frame delayed by 1 second, then 2, then 5. Suddenly, the terminal froze and a new window appeared. It showed text written in a soft gray font. Channel complete. Alignment phase pending. Underneath it, a countdown started, at 30 minutes. I tried to disconnect the system, but my laptop locked itself. Temperature in the room began to rise slowly. The servers were running hotter, but their fans did not spin. It felt like the air itself was resonating with the signal. At 0 minutes, the countdown ended and the message changed. Mirror stable. The monitors went black, and for a few seconds I saw my own reflection staring back at me, but the expression was not mine. The face moved a moment later than I did. Then the lights flickered and all screens shut down. When the power returned, the system was clean. No logs, no identifiers, no traces of the connection. Only one new directory appeared on the main drive, labeled February 25th, 2020. The exact date from the envelope that had reached the government office earlier that morning. February 25th, 2020. The day written in the files finally arrived. I woke up before sunrise to the sound of static. It was coming from my laptop even though it was turned off. A faint hiss, like a weak radio frequency, repeating at slow intervals. I checked the screen. It flickered once and displayed the words "Mirror Stable Observation Live." Outside the city was quiet. No traffic, no sirens, no people on the street. Berlin felt frozen, as if the signal had spilled into the world itself. I left the apartment and walked toward the ministry building. The fog was thick and colorless. Every window along the street reflected the same green hue, the color of the feed from window core. When I reached the entrance, the security barriers were open. No guards, no sound, no movement. I went down to the basement. The room was dark, except for one monitor, still active, in the corner. On the screen there was a live image, me, standing in the same room from a slightly higher angle. I raised my hand and the image followed, a fraction of a second later. The timestamp showed 21:27, 1 hour ahead of the current time. I understood then that the system was not recording the present, it was predicting it. I checked the terminal logs and found a single line. Observer final synchronization complete. The air vibrated softly, like before a storm. The walls seemed to hum under the pressure of invisible sound. I tried to disconnect the cables, but they were warm, almost alive. On the screen, my reflection started moving without me. It looked directly into the camera and smiled faintly. Then it turned away and the feed went black. All servers shut down at once. The room fell silent. When I looked around, every monitor in the rack showed the same phrase. Transmission ended. Thank you for your observation. At that moment, my phone received a message from an unknown number. It contained a single attachment, named Window Frame Final. I opened it. Inside was an image of the city seen from above. Thousands of small green points marking rooftops and windows, each labeled with a timestamp. All of them showing a time 1 hour ahead. I closed the file and disconnected the battery, but the glow from the screen stayed for several seconds after, as if the system refused to die. Later that night, I wrote the final report. No evidence of intrusion, no trace of unauthorized access. I wrote that Project Window was never officially activated and that all data had been erased. When I finished the report, I caught my reflection in the dark screen. For a moment, it did not follow my movement, it only watched. Then, the monitor flashed once and showed a new message in faint light. Transmission active, window 1. The same words from the beginning. And then, the screen went black.